Good morning, Chairman of the committee, members of the committee. My name is Peter Wolfgang. I am the president of Family Institute of Connecticut Action, and I am here to testify against assisted suicide for the 8th time in 10 years. This year, the bill is SB 1076. And this committee has heard this bill, as I said, throughout all those years. I don't find it a coincidence that this bill failed to pass the committee the first 5 years, and that it only passed this committee during the pandemic when we were locked out of the building. And I implore you, look at Kathy Ludlum, look at Elaine Cole, look at the people with disabilities that are here speaking against this bill. Please don't do this. Please do the right thing. I think it's great that all of us or some of us are back together in the same room and can look each other right in the eye. And I beg you not to pass this bill. Connecticut Judge Origema determined in the Blick ruling that aid in dying is assisted suicide according to Connecticut law in the normal use of language. The supporters of this bill tried to distinguish it from assisted suicide, but call it what you like, the results will be the same. In Canada, they call their assisted suicide medical aid in dying, MAID, and their MAID system, to quote one previous supporter, is quite horrific and is in the process of being expanded to mature children even without parental consent, and people with mental illness. Some have begun a Twitter campaign, hashtag I am the face of MAID, to show how they have been targeted. Assisted suicide has been rejected in Connecticut for the past 10 years because when legislators scratch the surface, they realize it is actually a terrible idea. This year, the advocates have added layers of complicated safeguards to their bill. The bill is cumbersome, and few doctors and patients would follow it. But advocates don't care because we know from experience they will be back to claim the safeguards are barriers anyway and should be removed. In the meantime, we will have lost forever the biggest safeguard we have against suicide in Connecticut, an absolute ban in the law and culture. In my written testimony, I've listed states where advocates now demand that the safeguards are too restrictive and must be removed. I'll summarize by quoting Kim Callahan, CEO of Compassion and Choices. There are too many regulatory roadblocks already. This is Kim talking. The most obvious is the waiting period. Lawmakers should also consider extending prescribing privileges to nurse practitioners and reducing overly cumbersome reporting that deters doctors from practicing. The current process for qualifying medical aid in dying is so cumbersome and time-consuming, it prevents too many people from accessing the law. In summary, the restrictions of this bill are a ruse because Compassion and Choices will be back again and again to remove them later. I urge you not to fall for their bait and switch. And again, I end where I began. It's not a coincidence to me that this thing only passed during the years when we were locked out of the bill.
Excuse me, Mr. Wolfgang.
Please don't pass this bill. Thank you.
Representative Clear Deetra.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your testimony today. I just want to clarify, you made a statement at one point saying that this process in aid in dying is a cumbersome process. Did you say that, or did I mishear you?
Yes. Well, the bill that you guys had this year adds all these new supposed safeguards. So, I mean, you know, it's hard to know what to make of this bill. There's a couple different ways to read it.
Okay, I feel as your definition of cumbersome may be our definition of safeguards, of putting things in place so the concerns that people have with this bill don't happen.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I would return, though, to my point that what we're calling safeguards this year, even like to take just one instance, right? The residency requirement. Oh, we have a new safeguard, the residency requirement. The people that are pushing for a residency requirement in the bill this year in Connecticut have a lawsuit going in Vermont to remove the residency requirement where assisted suicide is already legal. So this is something we've seen. Again, it's worth stating repeatedly. The safeguards here become barriers elsewhere. It's fascinating because we've been doing this for 10 years, and the bill, the concept of assisted suicide is sort of frozen in time in Connecticut, right? The proponents keep coming back for the same thing they wanted 10 years ago. Oh, it's just this simple thing. It's very limited. Whereas in the 10 states where it's already legal, they've moved forward with efforts to expand. So it is a bait and switch. And I do ask, I know there's been a lot of turnover in this committee, that there's new people here. I do ask you to consider that. Thank you.